Hope everybody has their coffee. Welcome, welcome. So this is the first one ever that we've done with this. Coffee with Kerry. Still brewing, nice. That's good. You got to have some. so, um, um, so coffee with Kerry. The idea came from there's all these things that I talk about in my classes. And I want to call them random bits. But kind of one of the times it came up because I was drinking coffee at the time, and one of the students thought, oh, you should do a coffee with Kerry and talk about these kind of things. And that was an idea that we hatched probably, I don't know, 2 years ago, at least 2 years ago. So finally getting around to doing this, which with the pandemic, it would have been perfect for me to do these things during that, and I never got around to it. So I'm happy that we finally just sat down and said, okay, let's do this. But the idea of this is I want to create a series of videos kind of covering topics that I think students are interested in, or at least I think they should be interested in, for sure, but they're not we're not, not networking. We're not going to talk about, IP subnetting and things like that. We're going to talk about the auxiliary things around your education, around your career, your IT, your pursuit of IT, that kind of thing. So like for today's, time that I have with you, I wanted to talk about just go over the programs that we have here, because I know we have some exciting things coming. And, so there's some pretty cool stuff to think about. But then in the future, future sessions, I want to talk about, ways of studying for these exams, these CompTIA exams, these industry exams, the Cisco exams. I mean, most of these exams are pretty difficult to take, and preparing for them is not easy. But we do have, I've got some proven methods. In fact, yesterday I got an email from a student, no joke, thanking me for providing a study guide on how to study for these exams. He had taken and passed A+, Net+, and Security Plus by following the guidelines. So, that'll be a future, thing that we talk about. I want to talk about, again, like how to study. I do want to bring in, I've been working in industry for a long time, so I want to bring in some guests. I've got some friends that work in AI. I've got some friends that work in the cloud. I've got friends that are security experts. I've got friends that work or are managers with local value-added resellers here in Albuquerque. So I want to kind of bring them in and give them an opportunity to talk about what they do, and then you guys can ask questions and things like that. So I appreciate everybody getting up early, right? So, or this is just separating out the people who get up early versus the people who get up late. Maybe that's what this is. But that's the idea of this, and I hope that you find value in it, and I hope that I can help you in whatever ways I can. And this is just a different forum for us to have conversations about things related to the IT field and education in general. So with that, hopefully Logan's coffee's ready. I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right, so you should be seeing the CNM main page. And if you've had me for any classes and it doesn't look like, I think several of you have, I tend to not do anything scripted. I tend to, I'm going to open this up and we're just going to start talking about it. I didn't practice. I don't prepare. And when I say I don't prepare, I mean, I know what I'm doing, but I don't go through and practice, things ahead of time. So if you get that feeling as we go through, that's why. I don't want to be prepared, especially when I'm doing labs with my students. If I'm prepared and I go through and everything works perfect, that's not reality, right? So I want to make sure that we're as real as possible for my students. So you may see, we may run into issues, we may run into problems. I don't think so in this particular environment that we're going to run into too many of those kind of things, but I do like to let, especially new students know, or at least new students to me know that I tend to have an idea and I take that idea and we run with it. So if it feels unorganized, that's probably why. All right. All right, so, and I want to make sure that we are recording as well. Yeah, so I've got pause and stop. So we are recording this. And I will probably at some point put this up on YouTube. So if you do, I just want you to be aware of that. So just be aware. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So on the CNM main page, programs and classes, right? CIS is part of Business and Information Technology, so BIT. Before we go into the programs and stuff like that, I do want to point out over here on the right-hand side, this Contact Us section over here. If you are a CIS student, right? If you're a CIS student, my opinion is you need to be talking to the BIT advisor, Dwan McCoy, not general advising. Okay, I don't have anything against general advising, other than the fact that general advising does not know the ins and outs of the CIS program. Okay, and by not knowing the ins and outs of the CIS program, they default to their natural. We're trying to get you through your degree and move you on to, maybe a 4-year, college, kind of moving on, right? Like a history degree, you get you 2 years here and then you move on, or your science and you move on, right? Most of the CIS, not all, but most of the CIS programs are what we would consider terminal programs. Not that you're going to die by the end, but they're terminal, meaning when you get done, you are ready to go into the workforce, right? That's our goal. In fact, my goal from day one, right? If you're in my 1410 class, or if you've taken 1410 and 1610 are the combined A+ certification courses, right? In my mind, and this is just me, this is not the opinions of anybody else here at CNM, not my bosses, not my, in fact, I've fought with my bosses about this opinion. But in my mind, you take those 2 courses, you work really hard, you study and you pass those 2 exams, you get an A+ certification, and you use that to get a job immediately. You get a job right away, right? Working in the field. Then you continue working, as you work, you continue to take your courses to finish your degree, right? If you talk to the common, right, and that's one of the things I work in academia, but I'm not I don't fit for certain reasons. And right, my goal here is to get you educated, to get you a job, okay? Not for you to get a degree, right? So I want you to get a degree because I honestly believe it's super important, and we'll talk about that in another session, right? However, in IT field, if you can get a certification as quickly as possible, you can turn that into an IT job. So instead of working, at a non-IT job, right, you can work in the field while getting educated in the field. And a lot of times employers and IT employers will help cover the cost of that education. So in my opinion, right, I think you need to get a degree, but if you want to get a job and get rolling and get experience and start, working in the field, work hard in these first couple of classes, get the A+ certification, get the Net+ certification, get one of those certifications, use that to parlay that into like a help desk job, right? Where you're actually working in the field. All right. So, but back to who you should talk to. Dwan McCoy, if you are trying to figure out where you need to go as far as what classes to take and things like that, if you want to reach out to me, I will help you. I am not the advisor though, right? I am simply an instructor who's worked in this field, who's worked as an instructor for 10 years now, right? So I understand what we're doing. I understand what you should do and how you should take it. But I'm not the advisor. Okay. So if you want to talk to a advisor that understands our program or who can reach out to one of us as instructors immediately to get answers, Dewan McCoy, and you can get to him by clicking on the link here. Okay. The other person I want you to be aware of, as we're talking about BIT and the programs in general, is Yvonne Salazar. Okay. If you are struggling, right? CNM has lots of resources, right? CNM has resources to help you if you have an issue with housing or childcare, or if you need glasses so you can see the board, right? There are resources out there that we can put you in touch with that will help eliminate the problems or issues that are keeping you from getting your education. Okay. And our achievement coach, Yvonne Salazar, is going to be your point of contact for those kind of things, right? Her job is to help our students become successful by helping to eliminate barriers and boundaries and things that are causing issues, right? So I wanted to highlight them before we get rolling here, because they are key parts of our team that are there to help you, okay? Their job is to help you. So if you have concerns or issues, or you need to know what classes to take, or how to work your program, or if you need some help with something, or something's coming up, or you're getting I don't know, we've had all kinds of issues. We've had people evicted and not have housing, and taking classes from their cars, and right, and by getting them in touch with Yvonne can get them in touch with other resources and get them situated so that they can then successfully complete these courses. So make sure that you're aware of those two. They're here. You get there by going to programs and classes, go to business information technology, and that's this page here. All right. Now, from programs of study right here in the middle, I'm going to click on computer information systems, because this is the main focus of what we wanted to talk to today. We have a ton of options, right? And sometimes it's one of those things where when you have a ton of options, you feel like maybe we have too many things going on, right? So be aware of that. You can, in computers, right, in IT, there are lots of little niches that you can become proficient at, right? And in fact, this is a good list of things: computer programming, computer support, cybersecurity, digital media, network administration, systems administration, web programming, right? We have a new one coming in the fall, artificial intelligence. We're working with Intel, using Intel's AI program to build out. It's a computer programming degree, but focused on AI and machine learning. So artificial intelligence, machine learning, right? So there's some of that coming on. That's the new thing coming. The other thing that's coming is on the systems admin degree. That's the degree that I'm responsible for. And after, as we evaluate I want to say the market, right? But the job market, we evaluate kind of the industry that's out there, and what's going on in the world. Cloud computing, right? Especially through this last couple of years of pandemic induced, mobile work from home, do everything on Zoom kind of a standpoint. Systems administrators, right, where we used to have everything on premises, right, in the building, have moved a lot of stuff, a lot of computing power out to the cloud, right? And when I say the cloud, I'm talking about out to things like Amazon Web Services, out to Microsoft's Azure, Google's Cloud Platform, right? So there's these they're massive companies, right? And they basically build out data centers all over the world, and then they rent you space on their systems to do your thing, right? I need a server, I need a file share, I need a website, we want to run this app that allows people on their phone to be able to do this, and this, and we want to have these computer systems available all the time. So we want redundancy, and we want to be able to expand and subtract, and right, and that's become as hot as cybersecurity has, right? So cybersecurity has been a massive, job driver. We have a huge shortfall of cybersecurity professionals versus the amount of cybersecurity jobs available. right? Same thing is happening on the cloud computing side, which is a systems administration's job, right? It's a job where you're running servers, you're running, office products, email, right? And storage, things like that. It all dovetails in the system admin. So system admin degree in the fall becomes the cloud and systems admin, systems administration degree. So we're going to add, we're adding in some, I want to say a mid-tier AWS certification to that degree plan. We cover Linux, we cover Microsoft Server, Microsoft Desktop, Linux Server, and then we have cloud, and we cover Cloud Plus, which is a CompTIA certification. We cover all three of the major cloud providers, and we cover 2 AWS certifications in content form. So a lot of really good information, a really good skill sets getting packed into that systems administration concentration. Okay. So I don't know what, if everybody in the chat, if you wouldn't mind, if you are working on a CIS degree plan, I got to find chat here. Which plans, which degree plans are you looking at, or which ones are you interested in? Like if you're not, or you're still trying to decide, like, is there, or have you chosen, right? What have you chosen? All right, so we got some cyber. That makes sense. There's usually quite a bit of cyber. Okay, cyber. Awesome. Web programming. Yeah, AI sounds cool. I'm excited. We play with AI. I do. Actually, I'm going to say my students do. With our Pi Wars robotics team. Which I'm super excited. We're back in the competition again this year. We're not traveling this year like we do in the past, but that is definitely an AI machine learning kind of deal. In fact, the last time we performed live in a live competition, we won both of the autonomous competitions for our grouping. So see, network admin, awesome. Computer programming. So we've got a couple of computer programming, web programming, cybersecurity, right? So a good smattering across the way there. That's awesome. No systems admin. I haven't brought anybody to the dark side yet. Okay. Maybe one of these days. So computer programming, right? We can go take a look at that real fast. Let's take a look. Right. One of the things you're going to see is a lot of the base stuff for all of these things. You kind of start out in the same. Yes, Logan, thanks for joining us. Logan is the systems admin. Love it. And how is the job hunt going? If you want to share.
Like, no, that's why I'm here. I was going to get some professional information on that. So I just got my first job offer actually from the HP for that Omen.
Okay, yeah.
Omen position. So considering it.
Nice. All right. And then I know, was it APS the other one? I know APS was one.
Yeah, so those applications are in there. I apply APS, actually a position CNM, Live Nation, and a bunch of other stuff so far.
Nice. Yeah, and maybe that's one thing we could talk about. There's lots of opportunities out there. It's not, I mean, there's always a handful of opportunities. There's never a time where we don't have an opportunity to kind of take a look at potential positions, right? And I know a lot of these positions, and maybe you can either see if you've seen this, but a lot of them are asking for certs at some point, right? They really kind of are saying, we want to have this level of understanding before we even consider you, is usually what I've seen in the past.
It's definitely preferred.
Yeah. So good. Awesome. Well, welcome. Yeah. So we've got Yeah, I'm reworking the classes as we do them. Like that's like I feel like I have to do that all the time. So so let's see. So computer programming. This is the first one. I saw several people that were looking at computer programming or web programming, right? So the idea here, right, we're going to get you up to speed on, C++, C Sharp, Python, Java. Okay. And then when you get into advanced classes, you can kind of start to pick and choose, right? Do you want to go into Android development, OpenGL, ASP.NET, so kind of Microsoft web programming. I think, we can take a look, but it looks like they may have added, some SQL, which I think is a key ingredient to a lot of programming, right? Because a lot of the programs that you have, they're going to want to tie to a database to store data and be able to do things around. So pretty good stuff. Most of our classes, they require this BCIS 1110. Like this is the old IT 1010. This is the fundamentals of information literacy. This is how to turn a computer on, how to log in, how to browse the web, right? Kind of those fundamental things, and it's a requirement, right? And I think anybody that's going into these fields, that class should be pretty straightforward, pretty easy to deal with. And then I know we always have, and I think most of our programs have some bit of business in them, right? Business professionalism, introduction to business. I think there's every once in a while you'll see a technical, like technical communication is down here. Sometimes there's a technical writing course that we have. And a lot of folks are like, well, why do I need those things? Well, you need to understand that in IT, like IT is not about IT. IT is about supporting the business, right? So understanding business, right, I think is a key ingredient to being really good in this field, right? So, for example, I don't have a CIS degree. I have a business degree, right? I got a business degree. In fact, my business degree was specialized in airport management, aviation, airline management, right? So I have a business degree from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, right? So, but I understand business, right? And I was really good at computers at the time, and I still feel like I'm pretty good at computers, but I didn't take classes in computers, right? I just knew how to run them, and at that point in time, in my career, this was back in the early '90s, right? A long time ago. So, in fact, probably I've worked in the field longer than most of my students have been alive. So, but right at that time, like if you had computer skills, it was kind of an obvious thing because computers were still really pretty new. Right. So I have a business degree, but then I've always worked in IT. My very first job out of college was an IT position here at a small business locally. I worked for the state here locally. I worked for Citibank for a while. I worked at Sandia National Labs. I ran my own company for about 11 years. I worked out in St. Louis for a couple years, and I started. And at that point, I didn't like my commute. I was spending 2.5 hours every day going to and from work. I wasn't around for my kiddos, and I wanted to be around. And I was able to find a position teaching, and from day one, I just clicked. It's been really fun for me. But I've had a wide range of experience, and one of the reasons I feel like I was pretty successful with that is because I never approached it as an IT solution, an IT problem. It was always a business problem, and we were using IT to fix the problem, right? So, and I think want to make sure that you have that kind of perspective. It's not about like putting out the coolest things that are out there. It's about what does the business need, and how do we provide that in a way that is cost effective, right? But also at the same time, like maybe helps the business move forward, right? Or make more, money, right? Because if we can help the business make more money, right, they're going to be, right. In my cases, I was able to, help the businesses make more money and in turn get paid better, right? So, so that was always a good thing too. So just understand why we have those things there, right? Because a lot of people, why do I got to take this class? Why do I have to take that class, right? And and they hem-haw around about it, and they don't approach it with the right attitude, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like understanding how business works is critical to being successful, right? Also, right, you have, this is where you're going to start with the C++, there's programming 1, there's programming 2 here in the second semester, right? Python, Linux, right? We're going to, all programmers, and I think all IT folks need to learn a little bit about Linux, right? It is pervasive on the server side. So anything that you do where you're working with servers, web servers, things like that, you're going to need to know a little bit about Linux. Not so much on the desktop, right? So Linux desktops are about 2% of the worldwide market. Mac is in the 10 to 12% range, and Microsoft is in the 85% range, right? So when we talk about why we have to learn, later on, why do we have to learn Microsoft instead of Mac, right? Because we like Mac better or whatever the case is, right? Microsoft is the monster, right? It's not 85% of the desktops. You need to, right? If you want to go out and get a position, right? Learn what most people have, right? Microsoft is what most people have. Okay. Yeah. So right, Ricky, I agree, right? Linux sometimes feels like a completely different language kind of a deal. And, I know in the sysadmin stuff, we start you with a little bit of Linux here and there, and there's a throw in a little bit of 14.10. We throw in, you have Linux Essentials, which is on this list. And then, but when you start to get in, like there's PowerShell later on that we do now in server classes, and then you have an upper level Linux. Like, so it's something that it's foreign when it gets started with it, but by the time you're done with your program, it's like, okay, I'm at least comfortable. Are you going to be an expert in 2 years? Probably not, right? But are we going to be comfortable and like, okay, I can figure this out? That's a lot of what I'm trying to get across to my students is that mindset. Yes, I can figure it out. Like, I don't know what I'm doing right this second, but I can figure it out. Okay. And a lot of these classes are going to get you that one step closer to that point, right? I want to say it's kind of silly to think that if you leave you work on 2 years worth of education, that you're going to leave and you're going to be an expert and you're going to be able to pull down 6 figures right away and and just be magic, right? It doesn't work like that. So make sure that you understand. Again, this is not really an attitude reset, but just like approach it this way. Like, I'm going to learn as much as I can so that I can get better at it, right? Get better at it to the point where you're not afraid of it. I think that's where we lose most people. They can't get over that I'm afraid of it level, right? I'm afraid. And then they give up because I'm like, I can't figure it out, right? And maybe they were like a half a chapter away or even 2 chapters away from like something clicking and going, oh, this isn't so bad, right? So yeah, keep at it. Make sure you work on it. I think that's a really good idea. I do want to point out here, this is interesting because, and I think most people see this and freak out, right? We have public speaking. We used to have where you had a couple of options, and now we don't, right? And the reason we don't is because as an IT professional, you have got to be able to explain your solutions to people who don't understand technology, right? And if you're not practiced at it and you're not comfortable, again, like, are we going to make you into Tony Robbins? No, I mean, we're not going to be Tony Robbins, right? But we're going to be at least comfortable speaking, being able to put our thoughts together in a cohesive way and be able to deliver those things. So we have public speaking and you're going to see that in a lot of the programs, and we have interpersonal communications, right? So we used to have, you could do either or. Most of our programs now have you got to do both, right? And we've chosen those 2 specifically because, as an IT professional, for the first 4 or 5 years of your career, you will be helping people one-on-one, right? Usually fixing their computer, fixing their problems, having to be able to communicate with them, right? And then as you progress in your career, right, you will be, people will rely on you to come up with solutions and then be able to present those solutions in a way where people can understand what's going on, and be able to, buy into the idea and, and hopefully approve and, or, hire you or whatever the case may be. Right. So understand those are why we have those there, right. In these programs. Anyways, so the core of the programming is going to be C++, right? 1 and 2, Python programming. Here's that introduction to SQL, so structured query language, right? So this is database, right? So that's I don't teach that class. When I worked at Jefferson College in St. Louis, I taught that class, and it's one of my favorite classes to teach. I don't know why. I like the way, a way you program to think, how it thinks, right? So, but that's definitely, even as a sysadmin, we don't have SQL in the sysadmin program. We do touch on it a little bit in the IoT class, but not enough for us to be, for it to be something that that we can put on our resume. For sure, we touch it in one assignment. But I think, if you work in a company that needs to have, that deals with lots of data, and a lot of companies deal with a ton of data nowadays, that's going to be a key critical skill set, right? Then as you get into your second year, right? So there's 2 years, like that's all the basic stuff, right? We got to, basics of programming, basics of Linux, a little bit of basics in the business side. We get a little bit of communications in there. Then we're going to get you into .NET. We're going to get you doing Java. Okay, you've got some communications, right? So we've got to, right? We need to be able to communicate with people, right? I think there's a stereotype around IT folks that we can't communicate. I will let you know that the most talented IT individuals are the ones who can communicate, right? There are some massively smart people that can make computers do magic, right? But they can't communicate with, and I'm going to quote, right, normal people who don't understand computers the way we do, okay? If you can bridge that gap, if you can communicate, if you know what you're doing and you can perform magic and you can communicate with the normal folks, then you're gonna be able to go wherever you want and make the money that you want because of the skill set that you have. All right. So you got multiple communications going on there. Then we got to do our general ed stuff, right? So this third semester, you're going to concentrate on .NET and Java, and then lots of communications. And then finally, they have a computer programming courses. That's weird. Why did they? Oh, you get to choose here. So down at the fourth, sorry, yeah, this is one not preparing ahead of time. I'm like looking like, what did they do here? So 9 credits. So there's basically you get to pick what you want to do, right? So lots of cool options if you want to get into like phone development, Android and Apple, right? So Swift is going to be the Apple side, Android's going to be, right, and that's going to be using Java. So you have to have the Java ahead of time. If you want to get into game development, right? Rob Garner does a game development course. That's a lot of stuff with Blender and Unity and things like that. There's some graphics programming if you want to get into like the GUI, right, and do GUI programming. If you want to even take your C++ skills further, right, you can grab that. But you've got to take 3 of these, right? 3 of these courses to get to your 9 credits, okay? Lab science, and then there's also a programmed approved elective, which we'll look at in a second. So general ed, right? So general ed, these are general ed kind of courses. The only other thing that you have is a capstone, and this is going to apply for all programs. The very last semester that you, that when you're going to finish your degree, you will actually come to this BIT. I'm going to go back 1 page real fast. You're going to go back to the BIT page, 2 pages basically. And over here on the left, there's this capstone approval form. So you're going to click on this link. You're going to put your information in, right? And what you're working on. And you're going to, I'm not a robot, and click submit. And what that's going to do is that's going to send an email to the associate dean for CIS, right? So the associate dean is going to get an email that you want to take your capstone, and then they will go through and check your records to make sure that you're going to complete the program that semester, right? So if you're getting to your term 4 and you've taken all your classes and you've got like 4 classes left, you would submit your request to take the capstone. The associate dean, they have a program that goes through and looks at everything that you've done and make sure that you have all the proper credits to finish up your degree. Then you're going to be, if you meet the requirements, you'll be placed in the Capstone course. The Capstone course is going to help you, like, get a resume together, do some practice interviews, and then you usually have a project that you do, and there'll be one of the faculty members will be a mentor for you, and they will give you a project. You have about 6 weeks to complete the project. You present the project, and once you present your project showing that you have learned what we want you to learn, then you pass the capstone and you can graduate, right? So totally cool stuff. The programmed approved electives, and that's going to be for all of the degree plans. Like if you're taking a degree plan, right, a 2-year degree plan, then they all have a capstone of some sort. If you're taking multiple degrees, if you're working on multiple degrees, and yes, that's still a thing that you can do, okay, you have to take both capstones at the same time. So it's one capstone class, but you would do 2 projects or 3 projects, depending on the degrees that you're working on, okay? And I can explain the multiple degrees in a little while, hopefully, if we have some time here. Program approved electives. So every single degree plan that we have is going to have program approved electives, right? So in this case, you can take special topics courses, right? So if you're interested in robotics, we typically do special topics robotics courses, usually in the fall. I want to, if we had more people, we would probably do more in the spring as well. But right, so, and then also I know, I want to say Rob has done some extra game development stuff. So if you're in programming and want to get involved with any of those kind of special topics courses, anything that ends with a 9.6, CIS, whatever, 9.6, those are going to be programmed approved electives. Also, if you wanted to, as a programming student, if you wanted to take IT Essentials, right? The IT Essentials hardware and software, that's going to be that A+ certification I was talking about. Yeah, take it easy, Manny. This is being recorded, so if you guys want to watch it later and finish up, you can. The recording, I'll post it on my YouTube channel. So, and then I'll send out an announcement. So it'll be posted on my IT instructor on YouTube probably later today. All right, Internet of Things. That's another one of my favorite courses. But we play with Arduinos and Raspberry Pis in that class. Then you can also, there's some other programming, like so web programming that you can take. So the idea of this is gives you a little bit of flexibility in choosing what you want to learn, right? So the programming's degree is set up that way. Like if you want to do computer programming, you've got a choice here, right? So you've got some choices there, plus you have a choice of what you're going to do extra. So 4 of your courses, you get to choose exactly what you want to learn, right? So no worries. Take it easy, Ricky. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, Blender for game development, because the Blender, you use it for the characters and things like that, to create characters. And then they can be imported into Unity. It's pretty cool stuff. Yeah, it's fun. I don't do it. Rob Garner does. He gets to play with all the game stuff. All right. So from that standpoint, like if you're interested in programming, right, this is going to be a good place for you to get the basics, right? C++, C#, Python, Java, like those are all kind of required. And then you can go into, if you want to go into mobile development, or if you want to go into website development, or just pure, application development, you can choose how you roll with that. Okay. Now, that was the degree, right? That's the associate's degree. There is also down here the certificate of completion, right? And certificates of completion are interesting because they concentrate, obviously, when you look at this list, they concentrate 100% on the skill set, right? We're not doing any of the extra stuff. We're not doing any of the business side of things, none of the gen ed kind of things. There's not a lot of choice when it comes to the certificates. But let's say you're working on, a network admin degree, right? But you're like, wow, I really should learn how to do some programming, right? So instead of, you don't have to get 2 degrees, but you could take, the networking administration degree, you can look at the program electives, right, and see if any of these match so that you can take one of these classes as a program elective on your degree, but then also kind of work in these other classes. And when you get finished, you have a networking degree and a certificate in computer programming, right? So you have multiple skill sets that you've added, or that you've kind of stacked, right? You're stacking multiple skill sets. I think the Linux is part of, right? And we can look at that. When you start to look at these, one of the things we want to do is probably bring them up on the screen, right, side by side, or print out the list and then start scratching off things that match, right? So if I can, and I'll show you kind of more on a couple of other programs where on the degrees, we used to be able to, it was networking, cybersecurity, and system admin. You used to be able, if you did it right, you could finish the degree like in 2.5 years, 3 years. I think it was 3 total, but it was basically 8 extra classes, and you ended up with 3 separate degrees, right? They had to be coordinated and all end at the same time, but it was possible to do that. So from a programming certificate standpoint, right? C++, C++2, SQL, Linux, Python, .NET, Java, Android, and .NET 2. Okay, so you're going to learn web programming, Android development, Java programming, Python programming, C++ programming, and a little bit of SQL. Okay, so 2 options there, right? So one of the, you've got the bigger 2-year degree, and then you've got the individual certificate. All right. I didn't see a lot of computer support specialists out there. I think there was a couple of cybersecurity. So take a look at cybersecurity real quick. So from a cybersecurity standpoint, right, the idea here is just to get you, again, this is me talking out loud, right? These are programs that get you started in these careers, right? This is not the end all be all. If you've looked at anything cybersecurity wise, you can probably tell there's no way for us to cram all of the needed knowledge into 2 years. It's just extremely difficult, right? There's lots of time and practice that needs to be done. So the idea of this one is we're going to give you the basic understandings, and then it's going to be on you to practice the skills, learn the skills, move on to the next, the next level, and you can do that by either moving on to, say, a 4-year degree plan, or kind of my preferred method is to find the next industry cert that is a level above where I'm at, and then take that and work with that. Okay. But let's take a look at this. So you're going to see some things that are interesting here, right? So we have that BCIS 1110, but now we're starting to add in CIS for all, which is the introduction to computer modeling. So, so we're giving you some options with what you could do with that early digital literacy course. Okay. We still got the business degree, business items there. Right, cybersecurity, you need to know how hardware and software work. So you're going to do the 1410, 1610 battery. Okay, there is this introduction to cybersecurity course, 1858, which I believe is a program elective on most other classes, right? So there's this way you can combine things, right? And we'll take a look. I'll look at sysadmin and we'll kind of compare those two in a second. Okay, Python programming, right? So as a cybersecurity professional, you're going to need to know how to do some coding. Okay, and Python is probably the #1 way to do that at this point in time. Okay, network essentials, right? We need you to understand how the network functions, right? So this is going to cover the CompTIA Network Plus certification, right? So we've got an A+ certification, a Net Plus certification, right? And then we've got Linux again. So you're starting to see like this core set of stuff, like every degree plan needs some of these pieces. Okay. So then you have your gen ed stuff. So laboratory requirement. Term 3, we're going to cover Security Plus, right? So another CompTIA certification. So you're going to see all 3 of those in the system admin and in the cybersecurity or the computer support specialist programs. Those 3 show up in all of those. A plus, Net plus, Security plus. That's going to be computer hardware and software, networking, and security. It's kind of to me, it's like the foundational IT knowledge that IT folks need to have, right? And these classes are all designed around you taking, and you would actually take those certification exams as part of your class. They are the finals for those 3 classes, right? So our hope is that as you go through the programs here, as you take these classes here, you take these certs, right? And, our goal is to have, we would love for everybody to pass these certs. It's not reasonable that everybody passes these certs, but that's the goal. What's nice about that is you come out of the program with a degree or a certificate and industry certifications, right? So that helps you raise your I went from a resume standpoint, right? It puts you on the top of the stack when it comes to when somebody's hiring, junior level, IT folks. They're going to look at all these, everybody that's applied, and they're going to be like, well, this person's got the A plus and Net plus, or this person's got the A plus and Net plus and Security plus, right? And those are going to be able to be, that's going to help differentiate you from others, right? So not only do we think you need to have the skills, right? That's why the classes are there. We've included the certificate, the certification exam as the final exam, because we find that it's so important for you to have those credentials as you move on, right? That it helps separate you from everybody else, right? So it's one of those things we're trying to help you get your foot in the door as quickly as possible. Like I mentioned almost at the very beginning, honestly think you can get an A plus certification and get yourself a help desk job within probably 2 or 3 months, right? So also in term 3, we've got Linux administration. So this is the upper level Linux administration course. So a big part of cybersecurity is understanding Linux, right? Understanding Linux, all of the tools that we use to do any kind of pen testing, any kind of vulnerability assessment, they're all going to be based on a Linux tool, right? Usually they're all Linux applications. There are applications that have crossed over onto the Windows side, but they're usually a derivative of an original Linux application. So you understanding how Linux works is really critical. So in this case, cybersecurity, you have Linux desktop in the 1680 course, and you have Linux server in the 2680 course. General ed stuff, these are going to be normal as part of a 4-year, or as a 2-year, I keep saying 4, but as part of a 2-year degree. Okay. Then you get into the hard stuff, right? This fourth semester, network defense, ethical hacking, digital forensics, right? That's all the stuff that people, when they think cybersecurity, that's the stuff they think about. The problem with this is that you've got to have all of this skill set on lock for this stuff to make sense, right? You can't just jump right to these things. So if you are in cybersecurity, I'm going to highly recommend that you spend a lot of time making sure that you understand the fundamentals in 1410, 1610, 1680, 1415, right? 2670, right? You understand those fundamentals, because if you understand the fundamentals and you've pushed yourself, right? And when I say understand the fundamentals, in my mind, I'm saying you need to shoot for the A, right? That 91% in the class or higher for those classes, because the more knowledge you have going into that last semester, the easier that last semester is, and the more it makes sense, right? Because if you don't have that basic fundamental knowledge, if you skipped over it, if you didn't read the textbook because it wasn't required, right? And you just did the quizzes and the labs and stuff, you're going to find yourself lacking when you get down here, right? And I don't want people crashing and burning. So I emphasize early on, right? You got to have the fundamentals, right? And I always push my students to be pushing for the A's. And the reason why is just a simple thing. If I were to build a computer for somebody and I showed up and gave them a 71% computer, which is a passing grade in our program. If I gave them a 71% computer, how likely do you think it is that it's going to work, first of all? And second of all, do you think I'm going to get paid for that computer, right? If I deliver a C grade computer? No, the answer is no, right? In IT, right? In IT, we've got to have it 100%. We've got to have it 100%. It doesn't matter how many times it takes us to get to 100%, as long as we do it in a timely manner, right? So if I have to build the computer 3 or 4 times and deliver it to get it perfect, then that's what I have to do, right? If same thing with a network, same thing with a server, same thing with an email system, right? I can't deliver 71%. So I encourage you to push yourself, right? Especially in these earlier classes. That makes what you learn in term 4 so much more fun, right? Because you understand what's going on and you're not trying to go back to semester 2 to learn what DNS is, right? Or what DHCP is, or what DDR4 RAM is capable of doing. Like, you already understand those things, which makes everything in term 4 make more sense. Okay. So, and that's going to apply to all of these degree plans. Especially, I know in my degree plan, the system administration, same exact thing. I can tell when we get to term 4 who skipped the DNS chapter back in term 2, right? I could tell within seconds. So that's just me as an instructor giving you my opinion. You need, in IT, push yourself to that A, by studying, by reading, by watching the videos, by doing the things that need to be done to get there. Because the better you are with the foundational stuff, the better you are with that basic set of things, the easier it is to understand everything else later on. I can't emphasize that enough. I promise you, it is true. So, I've based my career, 30 years in computers, on that simple concept. I was really good at the fundamentals, and I was able to get to the point where I'm like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but I can figure it out, and I can figure it out, right? So, because I understand the fundamentals. All right, program elective. So this is kind of, and it's hard. I want to kind of bring these up side by side to kind of show you, but because there's a lot of crossover from cybersecurity to sysadmin, a lot of crossover to computer support specialists as well. And then if you play it right and you're looking at the programmed electives, you can look at the electives like maybe like Internet of Things right down here, which I'm surprised is not part of the degree plan up here, but Internet of Things is a program to prove the elective, and it can be used. It's a primary class in sysadmin and computer support, right? So if you do it right, if you start to look at the programs and you kind of stack them next to each other, you could trace across them. I haven't done it lately, but there's probably like 2 semesters extra, and you would have 3 degrees, right? 1 in sysadmin, 1 in cybersecurity, 1 in computer support specialist, right? And then think about the knowledge that you would have by completing the degree plan that way. Like, you would have this really wide range of understanding, right? And that opens up a whole bunch of extra possible jobs that you could apply for. All right. So good stuff there. That's the cybersecurity one for those folks that are taking cybersecurity. There is, in addition to that, there is a cybersecurity certificate of completion as well, which just concentrates on the core information, right? A+, Intro to Cybersecurity, Python, Network Plus, Linux Essentials. You don't have to take the server class here, which I think, leaves this one a little lacking. We can't go past this 33 number. Otherwise, we upset the higher ed gods here in the state of New Mexico. we got to stick to these numbers, right? So, cyber, security plus, right? So we got CompTIAs, right? And then network defense, ethical hacking, digital forensics. So there's one other class that they're skipping on that last semester. Which one was it? So defense, ethical, digital forensics. It was a, oh, it was just a capstone. Yeah, you don't do a capstone for certificate. All right, I thought we were missing something more intense there. The only thing I see that's really missing from the cybersecurity certificate is the upper level Linux course, right? The 2680 Linux course is missing, right? So you're gonna not have that Linux system admin skill set if you do the certificate only, unless you just decide to take that class, which highly recommend if you're gonna go that route. All right, let's take a look because we just did cybersecurity. I want to jump into system admin since it is my degree and we've only got a couple minutes left here. I want to try to stop right at the hour mark. So only got about 5 minutes, but I want to point out some things, right? Same as cybersecurity, same. That's an elective in cybersecurity. That's the same. This is a new one, right? Because we're in system admin, we're teaching Windows Server. Okay, that's the same. Linux Essentials is the same. Cloud computing is new, and I think everybody should take the cloud computing class because cloud computing, as I mentioned earlier, is on par with cybersecurity as far as there being a lack of skill sets out there and jobs out the wazoo, right? There's a ton of jobs out there. If you search Indeed or Hot Jobs or any of those, Monster, right? Search AWS. You're going to get 20, 30, 40,000 jobs available across the nation that have AWS in the description, right? Of those, probably a third of them are introductory level jobs, right? Which are jobs that we would train you for in this cloud computing class, right? Advanced server, that is going to be replaced in the springtime or in the fall with a new AWS certificate program class, right? So for those that have already graduated and you want to add some skill sets, the new AWS, it's going to be the System Architect Associates course from AWS. It's going to be totally awesome. We do public speaking, computer security, right? So this one matches to cybersecurity. That one matches to cybersecurity. Linux administration matches to cybersecurity, right? So if you're doing cybersecurity, if you add server and you say you take IoT as your elective, you add server class, you add cloud, and you add the new AWS class, you now have 2 degrees, one in cybersecurity, one in system administration, and you've taken 4 extra classes, 1 semester worth of classes. Everything else matches straight across, right? And then over here on my program electives, I believe I can take Python as a systems administration, and that covers the requirement on the cybersecurity side. So you can do 2 degrees with 4 extra classes, essentially is what it boils down to, which I think is totally awesome, right? so pretty good. I know I'm going really quick here because like I said, I want to kind of keep to that 1 hour time frame. I'm going to jump to computer support specialist because we're gonna add to this stack. Okay, same. C++, that's a new one. Network is the same. Overview of web, that's a new one. Same. Oh, I think that's a new one in this particular deal. That's a new one. Same, right? And then term 4, project management, that's new. Excel, that's new. Cybersecurity, Capstone, intercommunities. So, and then I got program elective. So then I can take Python as my program elective here. So this one, to do that one, you add 5. And I don't know that that's worth it, right? And again, my opinion, if you're in cybersecurity, I think it would behoove you to take a look at doubling up on system admin. And if you're in system admin, you may want to double up on cybersecurity, right? You're talking of an additional 4 classes, right? But then you're going to have cybersecurity skills and you're going to have system admin skills. And system admin, we've built system admin to be a wide ranging program. You get Windows desktop, Windows server, Linux desktop, Linux server, cloud computing basics, cloud computing mid-tier, right? Networking, security, like we've got you this smattering of things. And then if you want to add those cybersecurity classes, those 4 extra classes, then now you have cybersecurity skills to attach to your system administration degree, right? I don't know. I think somebody, there was one person that was web programming. I think we kind of missed web programming. So that was the only other one that we have left to do, but it's 8:30. I really, let's do the 5 minutes and kind of take a look at that web programming real quick. I don't want to leave that out, right? So in the web programming side, you're going to see like this is the, the business fundamentals. You got your BCIS 1110 introduction. Like that's your battery that everybody takes, right? C++, that's really similar to the programming one. Overview of web technologies. That's new, but I think it may be one of the program approved electives on the programming side. And then you get into the real specific things that are for web, right? Web publishing, JavaScript, PHP, those are all specific to web, right? Introduction to SQL, you're going to see that in multiple programs. .NET, I believe .NET is part of the computer programming. Linux Essentials was part of computer programming, right? You got your Gen Ed source that are all still the same. You got the second .NET, which I know was one of the programmed electives that you could do with programming. So what I'm looking at is there a way to combine these things or not? This one, it seems like there's going to be quite a bit of difference, right? Web framework, right? And then your capstone. Right? So this is going to be, right, we're going to teach you the fundamentals, right? Some basic programming, overview of web. We're going to go, second semester looks like the big semester here, right? Really kind of digging into how to build websites, right? And then we're going to add some additional skills on top of that, .NET 1 and .NET 2, that give you that ASP, that ability to do interactive web programs or web sites, web programming frameworks. I'm not sure what framework they're using at this point, right? But that's going to solidify that web programming skill set, okay? I don't have the AI stuff with me today. That would be the other one that we're going to announce here shortly. I know it's been approved. We just got to get it put together and thrown out onto the page here. That's going to start in the fall. So if you're interested in machine learning and AI, that's going to be one way to do that as an AI program. So it's going to be, I would say, probably a computer programming concentration with AI. And it may just be a certificate. It may be an add-on certificate at this point. I'm not 100% sure yet with that one. All right. So, and I know we didn't get to all of them. I thought we were moving. I think digital media is going to move over to AT and out of BIT. So they're going to move over to where the film and the, like everything that's dealing with the film industry here in the state. Digital media is going to move over there, which is why I didn't talk about it. Network admin, for those, I think Rudy's a network admin. That is going to be Cisco concentrated, right? So Cisco is the gorilla when it comes to networking. You cannot get to the internet without crossing a Cisco device. It's not possible. And in that program, we actually teach the CCNA, the Cisco Certified Network Administrator certificate, right? So it's actually the foundational certificate in computer networking. And there's a 3-class battery plus a class specifically to get ready for the exam, a 1-credit class for that, that will set you on your path to becoming a network admin. So totally good stuff there as well. All right. And I know we've gone over a couple minutes. I apologize for that. If there's questions, if you have questions or follow-up questions for me on this, please reach out. You can email me at kbruce, and I'll get you the answer that you're looking for, or I'll get you in touch with the person who can give you the answer. But like today, I wanted to kind of show what's going on, because if you come and look at this as a student who's never done this before and you're like, what the heck, what am I trying to get into here? So, and because there's so many options, right? And I know when people think computers, they all think like, every person that works with computers does everything, and it's not true at all. It's not even close to being true. Like there's concentrations. People are skilled in certain things within our industry.
And we've kind of replicated that here with our degrees. There's lots of options, right? And I think I'm hoping that I see that you, hope that I showed you today that you could kind of, if you wanted to combine some things, and like you can customize your skill set. Like, what's the skill set that I want to have when I leave CNM, right? When I get out, when I'm done with my training here, right? Because at some point we want you to be done with your training here and move on to bigger and better training elsewhere. Even if it's on your own, working on certifications, which I think that'll be a really good topic for us to talk about. Probably next week, we'll talk about the certifications, like industry certifications, why they're important, what certifications are available to you, and how to, kind of the thinking about of why we use them here in our programs and why we think they're important. So I think we'll do that next week, if that works. But for everybody who hung out today, thank you for hanging out with me today. The first one, I hope it was okay. If you have questions that I didn't get to, we can do that now. Otherwise, we will we'll end